Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. Never forget, November 17th, 2021, the day Hannah Brown revived Bachelor Nation. Are you kidding me? Oh, she dumps some tea about Tyler and Peter in separate articles. And of course, this all to tease her new book that's coming out. So we're going to talk about all this. Now, if you haven't already watched my previous video, I'm assuming you did. We had a clip here that Hannah Brown mentioned she hooked up with Pilot Pete while his season was still airing. People are wondering the timeline. Was it after Madison Pruitt broke up with him, but before Kelly Flanagan? How does Hannah Ann Sluss factor into all of it? Where's Barb? Oh, the whole thing. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely insane. A wild story. That's why you got Wilderness Dave here, because I knew we'd be getting into a wild story. So do me a favor. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this video. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at DNeals, because tonight, Pilot Pete's going to share his side of the story. But in the meantime, we got the Tyler Cameron drama. As we know, Tyler Cameron was Hannah Brown's F2, which means she stood him up at the altar, right? Pilot Pete was her F3, which means she bumped Harrison's with him in a windmill. Jed was the winner, and of course, she found out that he may or may not have been in love with someone else all along, so she left him, and now she's happily with somebody that has nothing to do with Bachelor Nation, and she also won the Mirror Ball trophy for Dancing with the Stars. Y'all cut up now? Yeehaw. All right, so let's get into it. Of course, I'm excited because I love mess. I think you guys can agree. It was almost like Hannah Brown heard Katie was doing 12 Days of Mess, and she was like, hold my, spicy margarita, because I've got some for you. Now this, we've got Kelly Flanagan liked the previous photo of Hannah Brown revealing that she hooked up with Peter Weber while his Bachelor season was airing. It's almost like the ladies are taking notes, like, oh, what did you have on number 4? Oh, really? And they're just like swapping secrets here. Not all they're swapping. So let's get into the article. Let's talk about it. I've had 4 coffees. All right. Bachelorette's Hannah Brown recalls being deeply hurt by Tyler Cameron. He rejected me. And again, stick around for the end of this video. I'm going to share with you guys what Pilot Pete had to say. He's going to be airing out his side of the story. This feels like a Taylor Swift song nobody asked for, but we're all listening. She said, I was really caught off guard, recalls Hannah Brown, of learning that Tyler Cameron was dating Gigi Hadid in 2019. So let's go to a photo of there's Tyler Cameron with Gigi Hadid, which, you might say she's one of the most famous people that has ever walked on Earth, I would say. You know what I mean? She's a very famous model, and Tyler Cameron was on a reality show. So, the guy, some might say has outpunted his coverage, but he's a good-looking model himself. So, I guess models, I guess they just attract each other by their magnetism and their jawline and eye, gazing. All right, so let's read what we have here. Hannah Brown didn't find her happy ending on her season of Bachelorette in 2019, but for a moment it appeared she would rekindle a relationship with fan favorite and runner-up Tyler Cameron. I was really hoping that we would start dating again, Brown, who split from her pick Jed Wyatt before the finale aired, tells People in this week's issue. I thought I'd made a mistake. I had feelings for Tyler, and I wanted to make things work. But as the reality star 27 details in her new memoir, God Bless This Mess, available Tuesday, things did not go as she has hoped. So this is from her after the final rose. Of course, it didn't work out with Jed, who she was engaged to briefly. And then Tyler, she's like, hey, why don't we go on a date? They go on a date. He stays over there. She thought maybe it progressed to something else. And of course, he was like, well, I'm kind of hanging out with the Kardashian clan. So here they are, photos, dressed up in the winter, scarves and whatever, like an old couple right there. After Brown publicly asked Cameron out during her seasons after the final rose special, which I just showed you, sending fans into a tizzy, the former couple spent time together in her LA home in early August 2019. We had really intimate conversations about planning trips and things. I wanted it to work and to know that everything had happened for a reason. But maybe there was some miscommunication of what that meant. So I think that's her way of saying, I thought we were into something, and then I saw you taking photos with Gigi. So there she is telling him, hey, you're not the one. And then, of course, like my thumbnail says, he rejected me. She says he rejected her. Of course, she initiated the rejection, but, he seems to I don't think he rejected her out of spite. I think he's just like a dog with a bunch of different bones being thrown at him. You know what I mean? Miscommunication or not, 2 days after their night together, photos of Cameron with supermodel Gigi emerged. I was really caught off guard. I knew we were not together or openly dating, but just from the conversation we'd had, it was so shocking and so public. I felt like I had to be strong and pretend it didn't bother me when it did. I was already on the ground following her breakup with Wyatt, and this was another kick. I was deeply hurt. I said to Tyler, I'd date Gigi Hadid too if I could. I get it, but it was not the way I wish it was handled. All right, so she's got some she kind of understands what's up. She's like, look, I get it. You're now famous. You weren't before. In the months following, we didn't talk. I was upset with him, she says. Again, books out Tuesday. But then when Brown learned that Cameron's beloved mother, Andrea, had been hospitalized in February 2020, she reached out. He told me he had been thinking about me and he apologized for how everything went down. The next day, my brother had an overdose. We bonded over each other's trauma. Tragically, Cameron's mother died at the end of February. Boy, he found out she was sick. Or I guess been hospitalized, so maybe they already knew she was sick. Brown went to visit Cameron in Florida days before the COVID-19 lockdown began and suddenly found herself stranded with her ex and his friends. The group documented much of their time together on Instagram and TikTok. The quarantine crew, as they called it. I didn't know how to be there, says Brown. I was stranded in a house with a bunch of yucky boys, and Tyler and I were both hurting really bad. Define yucky. I mean, do they have to shave and shower every day? You know what I mean? It's a quarantine. Be a little smelly. Everyone's trying to save toilet paper. But instead of communicating, Brown says Cameron would often go days without speaking to her. There was nothing romantic about that time. We didn't even kiss, and it was really confusing because I told him I still had feelings for him, and he rejected me. Ultimately, when Brown was able to travel safely, she left and says she hasn't spoken to Cameron since. I was embarrassed about it for a while, but I learned so much. She's been dating Adam Woolard for a year. It wouldn't have worked with Tyler. Yes, there was chemistry and we had fun together, but I don't know if I had what he wants in a person or if he had what I wanted. Ultimately, things might not turn out the way you expected, but I try to learn from every moment. I don't wish ill on anybody. I've been through growing pains, but I'm happy and I'm in a really good place. I'm in a really good place. Remember Lace from Bachelor? I just want to I'm in a good place now. I need to worry about me. It feels like one of those kind of things. But hey, I get it. Now look, if we go into this photo here, this was a video they made after Quarantine Crew where they kind of openly talked about their relationship on her YouTube channel. So the timeline doesn't necessarily add up, but that's neither here nor there if the timeline doesn't add up. The fact is she wanted to hook up with him or date him or pursue him when they were in quarantine and he wasn't in that headspace. Of course, they trauma bonded as the term, which isn't always healthy. I mean, it might be nice to have someone, if you're going through a trauma and someone else is going through a trauma, it might be nice to cope with each other, but of course, that's not sustainable for a relationship if that's what it is. So let's read some of your comments here. We're getting all the tea today. I think it's interesting that the article says they haven't talked since Quarantine Crew because they released some YouTube videos together late last year, right? I think it's also hilarious that Tana fever was at its highest during the Quarantine Crew time, and apparently they weren't even speaking. I remember her saying she worked on the book for 2 years or so. I wonder if that part was put in before they hung out into the YouTube videos and that just wasn't updated. Maybe. I'm not really worried about the logistics of that storyline. Every Bachelor Nation person should take note. This is the type of book tea we are looking for. I always thought Hannah Brown would deliver. Oh yeah, we have a package sent by Hannah Brown. What is it? It's a whole ton of tea. All right, back it up. And she dumps it on us on a Wednesday. Thank you, Hannah Brown. Thank you so much. And here we were, going to discuss, Chris the villain from Michelle's episode 5. Like, no one cares. More Hannah Brown tea. Tell us about the windmill. Do you have any GoPro footage? Show it with us. Every Bachelor Nation person should take it. 4K. I'm sorry, but this is the 12 days of mess that we're all here for. Am I right? I love mess. Somebody tell Katie to take notes. Poor Katie season. Okay, look. Nothing's more interesting than the storyline of Pilot Pete. Is Pilot Pete solely responsible? I mean, they don't pay him enough for what he did for this show. He created a Kelly Flanagan storyline. He created Madison Pruitt's storyline. He created a windmill storyline. There's a lot that went into him not exactly landing his plane on the runway strip, if you know what I mean. Based on the vibes in this Quarantine Crew video, I thought they were effing, but it turns out they weren't even speaking to each other. I think they said they slept in the same bed every night, but literally couldn't stand each other. Oh, that's the worst when you think when you're over somebody and you're like stuck together. They're like on a trip that they don't have a refundable ticket for. From the YouTube, it sounded like she wanted to have like a big relationship talk, and he absolutely did not. Not that they weren't speaking at all. I'm drunk with all the tea this morning. First Pilot Pete and now Tyler, while still getting over Tyler's DPs from yesterday. Yeah, that was a lot. All right, so let's get into, so we got those photos done. And then here's what's interesting. Now, this is a side note. These are two separate stories, but they're sort of intertwined. And again, we don't know. Hannah Brown might be dropping more T4s. It's like, do we even need to buy the book at this point? Yes, get the book. The Hannah Brown Chronicles comes out at midnight. This is from Bachelors in the City podcast. Now, we remember when that's Pilot Pete and his co-host Dusty, right? So, do I have that right? So Pilot Pete did a State of the Union with Kelly Flanagan. He's got literally 15 storylines going on. It's just amazing. And from all accounts, everyone says he's a nice guy, but clearly he is. He's swinging that Pilot Pete energy. So he says Peter tells the full story of what happened at Dylan and Hannah G's engagement. Now, of course, Dylan and Hannah G's engagement is when Pilot Pete and Hannah Brown ended up hooking up again after her season was over. So her season had ended with not dating anyone. She ends up hooking up with him after he's already filmed his season, when she says she heard that maybe he wasn't, his relationship was on the rocks. So it's kind of one of those finders keepers, who hit it first moments. So let's read a couple of your comments. While I want Hannah G and Dylan to have a beautiful wedding, I also hope it's as exciting as the engagement party was for us. Yeah, seriously. Pilot Pete better show up with a timeline, visual aids, and supportive Sweetnums quotes. I need Katie Porter-style posters and whiteboards. Yeah. Pilot Pete, here, if you need to borrow my Harry Potter wand, you're like, see Exhibit C-2. This here is security footage of the Harrisons that were bumped on the fateful evening in question. She confirms Peter had no heads up about this being in the book, so this podcast is likely going to be a disaster. Looking for this might be new information that just came out. Looking for privacy to catch up, Weber invited Brown over to his parents' house in Los Angeles. The Alabama native was sleeping in his brother's room when Weber texted her to come to his room, and the pair had, you know what? Per an excerpt from People. The next morning, Brown, who wrote that the twosome spark was gone for good this time around, had an awkward breakfast with his parents before Peter Weber left for work and called her an Uber. The next time the exes chatted on the phone, Peter Weber admitted he still had feelings for his runner-up, Madison Pruitt. Holy hell. No wonder the spark was gone. You can't bump Harrisons in your parents' house and expect the spark to be there. The spark's in the windmill. No one's around. The windmill's making noise. You can kind of get freakalicious. You can't do that when your mom's sleeping next door. Your dad, maybe. He's got the CPAP machine. He's making noise. But the mom, she can hear everything, So they had it. Then he tells her over the phone he still has feelings for Madison. Someone tell me which producer thought Pilot freaking Pete was ready for a wife. We need to have a serious talk. Who cares if he's ready for a wife? This is entertainment TV. Oh my gosh, is this for real? So Barb knew and really made them pancakes? Is that why she was so intense after the final rose? I have so many questions and I'm loving today with these revelations. Yeah, this is one of those days where I'm like, all right, get the Starbucks order in. We got content to make, so definitely stick around, subscribe, because we're going to have more content. Even Jeff Probst was like, wow, someone's torch wasn't necessarily snuffed, if you know what I mean. Dead, deceased, expired, gone, bye. This should be a separate post. It gets messier and messier. So tons of content. I might have to make a separate video about that. I mean, honestly. Kelly Flanagan and Kelsey Weir commented on this yesterday. Kelly said, feeling blessed and sweater obsessed. Kelsey says, why are you feeling so blessed, Kelly? Anything you want to share? And then Kelly says, how about we let the dust settle? LOL, y'all are trouble. Kelsey, we need to discuss. Call me. So clearly they became privy to this information last night and all that. Meanwhile, oh my gosh, so much to talk about. Tyler's getting blown up on TikTok for apparently hooking up with an AKO at Texas A&M while he was there over the weekend. The comment says, the fact he hooked up with a random girl at my college too. Haha. I can't believe he went from Hannah B and GG to hooking up with multiple college girls in a sorority. You like that rhyme? All right. So anyway, more info to come. Let me know what you guys think. We're just going to keep sipping this tea. Boy, it's making me have to use the bathroom, right? All right, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and you can donate at the end if you want. Super Chats, Venmos, PayPals, all that jazz. We'll talk to you soon, folks. Lots to discuss. Bye, everybody.